Hello everyone, and today I'm going to be going over some famous checkmate patterns that come up in like many different games and situations in those games. To some extent, some of these depend on um, like the openings that each side plays, but I think that they're common enough that they can come up in really any type of game in any situation. So it's important to focus on these just so you can like survive your games and maybe end the game a little bit early if you take advantage of these patterns. So let's get started. First, we'll be looking at the very basic, something that probably everyone watching right now knows or at least has heard of, the background checkmate. The background checkmate is that you move a piece that can attack horizontally, so either the rook or the queen, to the back rank of the opponent and give them a check, and that check actually turns out to be checkmate because it can't go anywhere. It's called the back rank checkmate or the back rank mate or back rank pattern because it takes place on the back rank, right? And that's really one of the necessities of this checkmate of occurring. This and the fact that king can't escape because its own pieces are blocking it. So if this was also here, you could consider black back rank checkmate. If there was like a knight here, you could consider a back rank checkmate as well. If you go here, if this knight couldn't move back, then yes, it'd be a back rank checkmate. So anyways, this is pretty important to identify because if you can find it, you easily win a chess game. It's mostly important just to focus on like identifying when you can apply a background checkmate, which is usually when none of these pawns have been pushed. So like it's not like a square up like this or like this. If it's all just like this, then there might be a back rank checkmate possibility, especially if there's nothing defending the back rank. Like if this rook was here, then obviously right now you can't do a checkmate. Since this rook is here, you can do it. In the former situation, the back rank was defended by the rook, but now it's not. So you need to look out for that too. But this can come up in many different situations. It's also important to make sure that you, as the player, remember to defend against back rank checkmates. Usually this is just like a little like pawn push up somewhere, or just making sure you have enough pieces to defend the back rank from the rook. Usually just what I think is that like if I like have like nothing else to do, like it's not important for me to like go through with my plan at that immediate moment, I take a move to just move a pawn up if it's safe, so that I don't have to worry about these back rank checkmate possibilities ever again in the whole game. Okay, so this is really important, so you guys should all remember this. The next like checkmate pattern is this like weak square on h2. In this case, there's nothing defending this pawn, so you can just take it for free. And then once the king moves, you can go up. Really to look out for these free pawns, or just free squares you can attack. Like this. In this case, you can also do the same thing. It's important to note that if you are defending, like say for example, your white in this case, you could have just moved like this knight here. That's usually the way that these types of like attacks are defended. But in this case, you can just attack, and they can defend it, of course. But you know, you can try attacking them. And sometimes it even leads to mate. Like if this rook was here, then it's checkmate. Okay, so that's a pretty basic one. There's nothing too much after that. The next one is kind of similar to this, but requires some more usually some more maneuvering. So in this case, let's say we have this kind of position. You can see that the pawns are like in this kind of triangle shape, which you call the Fianchetto, around the king, the opponent king. And you can take advantage of this because if you notice, there's a lot of weak squares here, specifically of the opposite color the pawns are in. And because white doesn't have like a light squared bishop, like if there's a bishop here, then these squares are okay. Like they're not too much risk or too much danger or anything. But since that doesn't exist in this position, there might be a way for us to take advantage of that. So the way you do this is you can do it a couple different ways, and all of these actually I'm not going to generalize for all of these, but I'm just going to clear most of the board and just show some examples, just purely without any other pieces or distractions, because there's different ways you can approach this one. It depends mostly on the position, and you can't really it's not like this one move that you kind of actually have to like have a somewhat of a series of moves in order to accomplish it usually. So first one is like there's a bishop here and a queen here. The bishop can be like anywhere along this diagonal. The queen just has to be either here or here. So there can be a queen here or a queen here, just so you can get to this square or this square. And that's checkmate. So if you go here, you can see queen can't move, king can't move anywhere, obviously, can't take it, obviously. That's checkmate. Same thing if the queen was here. You can also switch the sides, which is another way. You can have the bishop here, this. Here in this case, it only attacks this square, not this square. That is another possibility. Another possibility is you can have like a pawn here, like instead of the bishop, either a pawn here or a pawn here. So you can do the queen like this, or you can have a queen like this, and then end up checkmating here. Lastly, this doesn't always apply, but if you have like a rook here or something, you can like have like this kind of position. You check. Actually, this doesn't work. This one works. Sorry. Check, and your opponent can't go anywhere. So there's a common theme in all of this. They all take advantage of these like surrounding squares, and all involve either checkmate on this one, and in one case, checkmating through this square. So you don't actually need to like only use this for checkmates. You can use that for this for any situation. So it's just important to know that if there's no like white bishop here, or like if there's a Fianchetto on the other side, opponent, and they don't have like a dark squared bishop. So in this case, if these pieces are both gone, then you should look into attacking the squares around the pawns, because they're usually really weak. Okay, next one is also a pretty easy one, but this time I'm going to demonstrate it by a little well-known pattern. Okay, so e4, e5, bishop c4, knight c6, queen g, or queen h5, then the knight goes here, and then the queen can take here, and that's checkmate. This is called a scholar's mate, and you should probably like know how to defend against it. It's really important, because I know a lot of beginners fall for this really easily. Just you can look it up online anywhere else, and it's really well known. It's just called the scholar's mate, 4-move checkmate, or like fool's mate or something. There's a couple different names for it. I don't know if fool's mate's actually the correct one. But the point is that it attacks this square, and obviously black can do the same thing in like another situation. It attacks this square. So really the best, there's a couple different ways to defend through this. You can move the pawn up like this, and that usually stops a bishop. Or you can castle, which is the best way to do it. Or if you can just like this, like even this castle. Now this rook is protecting this pawn. Similarly, if you're on the attacking side, you can move like, usually it involves the queen, but you can move like your queen here, your bishop here, or here you can have like a queen here too, or a queen here. Okay, you can also have like a knight, so you can have like a knight here, a knight here. Also attacks these two this square, and you can also apply this to to this square over here, you can have like bishop here and bishop here. So make sure not to fall for this one either. That's also pretty common. Okay. So lastly, this is going to be like the hardest one, but it does come up a decent amount. Oops. And it's called like the Smothered mate. Okay, so in this case, black is actually completely winning. Okay, let's move number 1. Black starts out with knight f2. The king has to go here because there's no other way to escape the check. Black goes here to knight h3, gives it a check and a check this way. And now white has two possibilities. White can go here, which leads to immediately checkmate like this. You can verify this is checkmate. Or here, where the smothered mate comes in, go like this, and white rook can take, and then you have a checkmate. It's called a smothered mate because it's like white's own pieces are smothering the king. This is checkmate. That situation is really common, like a really common way to lead to smothered mate. It's not really exclusive. The only way to have one. Smothered mate is just like where like all the pieces are covering the king. So I recommend everyone to who's watching to, if you need to go back and go through the sequence I did a couple times just to understand it, get the hang of it. You can apply it definitely in many different situations, especially if you're into blitz games or fast paced games, fast time control games, 5 minutes or less. This can actually be really useful and come handy. There's one other situation I've seen where smothers mate come up is something like this, and then you have a smothers mate, which is pretty sad way to go out. But yeah, this is also smothers. An example of it that I've seen. So I think that's all of the checkmate patterns we're going to cover for today. Hopefully you all learned something, and I'll see you next.